Hi, I'm Greg Dell with Dell Disability Lawyers, joined by attorney Rachel Alters, and today we're going to have the opportunity to discuss one of Rachel's recently resolved cases against Sun Life. And Rachel's Sun Life can be a very challenging company, especially for appeals, so looking forward to hearing about what you were able to do for this client, and then we'll provide some tips and feedback for people who have either been denied or are wanting to do everything they can to make sure they don't get denied. So let's start with the background of your case.
This is a claimant. She's 57 years old, and her occupation was working in selling commercial vehicles. So she had a very physical job. She was selling semi-trucks, so she would have to climb in and out of them. She would have to operate them, move them around the parking lot, and I personally have never driven a semi-truck, but what she describes to me, it's a very physical job. She did this for many years, and in 2019 she started suffering from, well, she had degenerative disc disease, but she had severe osteoarthritis. So what happened was she required a double hip replacement. So she had her left hip replaced, and then a year later, I believe, she had her right hip replaced, and she was suffering from a lot of pain. So her issue from the beginning was she had a lot of trouble getting in and out of the trucks. And she found that when she was, trying to get in and out, she was in a lot of pain. She felt like she was unstable, she was gonna fall. So her doctor said, you can't do this anymore. She also suffered from back issues. So when she was sitting for long periods, her back would seize up, her pain in her hips would, she couldn't focus because she was in so much pain. So she filed for the disability claim with Sun Life, and they actually approved her. They paid her for 23 months.
23?
23.
Okay, and I'm sure you're going to tell us why that's significant.
I will. And then they cut her off. They said, you know what, we think you're fine. You could go back to your job. You can climb in and out of these semi-trucks. And they actually reclassed her occupation. When they first approved her, they agreed that her occupation was light duty. And then when they denied her, they said, oh no, we've decided that this is a sedentary occupation. So they said, you could go and do sedentary work. We don't know why they reclassified it.
Yeah, which that in itself is ridiculous, because just climbing into a semi-truck is arguably a medium-duty job. Because it's actually quite a big climb to get in there. So they deny her at 23 months. Why is that significant?
It's significant because the policy itself will pay her for 24 months if she can't do her own occupation as a commercial vehicle salesperson. After 24 months, then her disability definition changes to whether she could do any gainful occupation, which usually is, what she's reasonably educated to do, sitting at a desk, maybe be a sales manager or something in her field, but not, necessarily getting up in the trucks, operating them, and climbing in and out of them.
Right, but now, in my opinion, and I'm sure you'll tell us the outcome, because I really don't know what you're going to tell us, but when a disability insurance company denies somebody just before the change of definition, what they've effectively done is not only screwed the claimant because they have to do an appeal, but you're now doing what's called an own occupation appeal, because you're trying to argue that she can't do the duties of her own occupation, but really that's not the big picture here, because you're not doing the appeal to win 1 month worth of benefits. You want to be thinking about what's going on. The definition's changing. By the time now you submit this appeal, it's already into the new definition. So what disability companies try to do is say, well, okay, we agree she can't do her own occupation, but guess what? Now we're denying her on the any occupation, and go ahead and do another appeal. And so here's your 1 month of benefits. We're denying you again, and go take another 6 months and appeal again. So I'm interested to hear what happened in this case as you were doing an appeal for ONOC, but really now she has to qualify for ENEOC.
Right, so we basically had to do 2 appeals in one and argue that she couldn't do her own job, which is completely different than whether she can do a sedentary job, because obviously her job required a lot of physical activity. Sedentary, you're sitting down most of the time. So we had to argue both. Luckily, her doctors were all on board. She had an orthopedic surgeon who did her hip surgeries. She had a pain doctor she was treating with, and she also was seeing a chiropractor. So they all were working as a team together, and they all agreed. We had them all filling out attending physician statements, writing very detailed descriptive letters, saying that due to her pain, her degenerative disc disease, her osteoarthritis, her hip issues, even though she had the hip surgeries, the surgeon said that she's still suffering from severe hip pain, and that's arthritis is a condition that doesn't go away; it just progresses, and unfortunately, there's no cure for it. So all the doctors were on board with that. So luckily, they attested to the fact that she can't even do a sedentary job. So we took it a step above, because even though we had all the doctors supporting it, sometimes that's still not good enough for the insurance carrier. Sun Life will say, well, our doctors disagree. And in this case, in the beginning when they denied her, they didn't even have a doctor review her records. They had a nurse practitioner. Yep. So they basically relied on a nurse practitioner's review the records, who said, I think she can go back to work, and that's when they denied her. So we, of course, were all over that. They never had her examined. They didn't do an IME, they didn't do a functional capacity evaluation, they never even spoke to her doctors, they just denied her. So we sent her to have a full functional capacity evaluation, so that we had objective evidence to show that she really couldn't sit for long periods, and she couldn't stand for long periods, due to her pain.
Right.
She had limited range of motion, due to her hip surgeries. So the functional capacity report came back supportive and showed that she couldn't handle, it was less than sedentary work. She can't even do a sedentary job. So we had the help of the physicians all together, supporting her. And the medical records also were very supportive. She had multiple MRIs that showed that she was, had all kinds of issues. So she had the objective proof, the medical records, the doctors, writing letters, and then we had a report from the physical therapist who performed the functional capacity evaluation that showed that she could not handle even sedentary work. So all this together went into our appeal, which eventually, they overturned and decided that she was truly disabled.
It's kind of crazy, because I remember reviewing the file, and she had a long chronic medical history.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, between the back, with all the MRIs of the back, and then the hips, and at 56 years old, or 55.
57, well, yeah, right, she was 57, right.
When she did the surgeries to have both hips replaced is major. And then osteoarthritis is a whole nother medical condition besides what was going on with her hips. So she's got a total musculoskeletal issues, full body.
Yeah.
I mean, from the head all the way down, where it's going to be, I can't imagine she can ever get herself into a comfortable position. And surgery, as we know from all of our clients and from family members and friends and everything, you don't have surgery and then you're like, everything's great, back to normal. I mean, it stops the pain, it stops the bleeding, but it doesn't necessarily at 57 go in for 2 new hips and you're like all of a sudden like you were when you were 25. So, and you're limited in what you can do, and it's not recommended that you just go ahead and sit 6-8 hours a day that's required in a job, and it doesn't change your back. And the osteoarthritis is a chronic problem that can be managed with medications, but it doesn't go away. So it was sad that they used just a nurse, not to knock nurses, but the nurse practitioner should have said, wait a second, okay, this meets the threshold of having something going on. There's a lot here. Let me send it up to a doctor. And I know, and we know from deposing Sun Life and handling hundreds of appeals against them, they hire on their payroll internal doctors.
Of course.
They have orthopedic doctors, they have general medicine, occupational, every type of specialty needed. That nurse practitioner could have said to a doctor, hey, am I right here that this person has no limitations to climb into trucks?
Right.
And the doctor would looked at it in 2 seconds and said, no, you're completely wrong.
Not.
So that person should arguably be fired, but I don't take it personal to go after that nurse practitioner. But that's like, to me, it's almost fraudulent. It's complete nonsense. If that was that person's family member and that family member called that nurse and said, hey, I'm uncomfortable, I can't do these things, do we think that nurse would have been like, oh, you're fine? I mean, it's not like we tell our kids, I have a headache today, go get to school. It doesn't work like that. So what does it look like moving forward for your client now that you've won this appeal?
Right. Well, she got, paid the back benefits that she was owed, from when they cut her off, and now they put her on claim monthly. They haven't, said specifically, we agree that you can't do any gainful occupation, but essentially they've said that by paying her more than a month of benefits. So hopefully we will keep her on claim as long as we possibly can, working with her doctors, making sure that she goes and she treats on a regular basis, so that when Sun Life comes around asking for updated records and forms, we have enough to show that her condition has not improved,
Interesting. So they didn't say in the appeal that you won, we're approving you for the own occupation and moving forward into any gainful occupation?
Well, as of now, they just said we've overturned our decision.
Right.
So we haven't gotten a letter or even received the back pay yet. It was recent.
So they
we'll
could
see if they put that in writing or not.
Right. And so what is your recommendation as a tip for someone who's watching this video now, and especially your client, to protect her benefits moving forward? What should she be doing?
She should be making sure that she's visiting the doctors regularly, even though with osteoarthritis, a lot of times the doctors will say, listen, there's, we put you on medication, but there's not a lot that we can do. Sometimes they say, come back and see us in a year. I don't recommend that. I recommend that you go see a doctor every few months just to make sure that, number one, they know how you're feeling. You got to put that on paper. You got to say to the doctor, this hurts me. Don't be a superhero, because superheroes never win in disability cases.
Right.
You have to just put it all out there, be honest and vulnerable to your doctors so that they know what's going on with you and they write down. So when the records are requested, it doesn't look like, hey, so-and-so came into the office today, she was smiling and happy and didn't complain about anything. Well, if you keep it all inside, it appears that you're fine.
Right.
And we obviously don't want to give that appearance to the insurance companies if it's not the truth.
And what do you tell your client about how she can try to live a normal life, like normal activities of daily living, not fearing going out of the house? Can she do all of those things and not worry that her benefits are going to be denied?
In some instances, yes. I mean, obviously you're not afraid to leave the house, but you have to make sure that what you do when you leave the house is, in conjunction with what you've told the insurance company that you can do. So if you're telling them I can't sit for more than 2 hours at a time, make sure that if you're getting in a car, you're not going on a 5-hour road trip and not making stops, taking breaks, getting out, because if it becomes a day where they do follow you or surveillance, they're going to look for things that are opposite of what you said you could do that make it look like, you're not telling the truth. So yes, go ahead and live your life. Obviously, just make sure you're not doing things outside of your home that you've claimed that you cannot do. If you can't lift more than 10 pounds, don't go, lifting huge, heavy pallets of water bottles or whatever it may be at the grocery store. Ask somebody to help you, take somebody to the store with you, have groceries delivered, whatever it is, just make sure that you're not doing things that you're not supposed to be doing.
Right, and that's how we always guide the claimants with their claimant statements and the attending physician statements that Sun Life requires to be filled out periodically, because claimants get it and they're not sure what they say. They're like, well, what if I do tell them I can go in the car for an hour? What if I tell them I can shop for an hour? What if I say I can go to dinner? What if I say I can make my own meal? Are they going to cut me off?
Right.
And the claimants are scared. But they don't really need to be scared if they are truthful and honest. But to a certain degree, you have to know, and it's legitimate for them to have this fear, which is why we always consult and guide them on how to fill it out.
Right.
But the bottom line of what you just said is it's going to hurt you more if you exaggerate something on your claim form and then they do catch you doing something. Because you can go in the car one day 5 hours, it happens. But guess what? It's not like work. You could also get to your destination and stay inside all day and relax all day. And sorry, you could travel and go on an airplane for 6 hours. And yeah, I got there and I was uncomfortable, but you know what? It's my one vacation a year. I'm going to suffer through it. It's not going to work 40 hours a week, every week, 50 weeks a year. So yes, you can still do things, but unfortunately, a lot of people get so scared that if I don't tell the insurance company X, Y, and Z in my claim form that looks maybe worse than what I really might be able to do, then they're going to cut me off. So
and people have good days, bad days.
Of course.
You can say, when I'm having a bad day, I can't do X, Y, and Z. If I'm having a good day, I might be able to do more. But then once I do more, maybe the next day I'm down for a day or two in pain.
Or you could be medicated and do something like an activity like sitting for longer than usual or walking or whatever, but not have the cognitive ability to be like, I'm not going to take calls from 10 or 15 people or be responsible for anyone's stuff other than myself, trying to function with alleviated pain, but not necessarily all there because the medications give me side effects, which make me not feel comfortable to be responsible for someone else's job task or phone calls or whatever else I have to do for an employer. It's not fair to the employer. So, well, congratulations on this case. Hopefully there won't be any issues moving forward and the claimant can have the benefits for as long as she needs them moving forward. If you're someone out there with a Sun Life long-term disability claim, feel free to reach out to Rachel, myself, any of our long-term disability lawyers. We always provide an initial free phone consultation, and we're available to help you no matter where you live in the country. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the Managing Attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process. And when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search. Plus, we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.